I had spent the entire morning in that kitchen, 5 hours, 5 full hours preparing everything my daughter Jennifer loved most: herb-roasted chicken with crispy skin, the garlic mashed potatoes she'd been crazy about since she was 7, honey-glazed carrots, fresh dinner rolls, and that lemon meringue pie, the one that takes 3.5 hours to get the peaks just right. It was 4:17 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, September 23rd, when I placed the last dish on their dining room table. The apartment smelled like home, like love, like family. That's when my son-in-law Richard looked at me with cold, empty eyes and said, "Why are you still here?" The room went silent. The air conditioning hummed. Outside, I could hear car horns 15 floors below. My hands were still warm from the oven mitts. Jennifer stood beside him in her cream-colored cashmere sweater, arms folded across her chest. Her face was stone, no smile, no warmth, nothing. "Jennifer," I whispered. My throat felt tight. "Honey, what's happening?" She took a breath, deep, controlled, and looked me directly in the eyes. Her voice was calm, too calm. "You don't belong in our family anymore, Helen. Leave." "Not Mom." "Helen." My legs went numb. I gripped the edge of the table. The chicken I'd basted for 2 hours sat there, golden and perfect. The pie with its perfect swirls of meringue. All of it might as well have been garbage. But what they didn't know in that moment, what they couldn't possibly have known, was that in exactly 10 days, she'd be calling me in tears, begging, and it would already be too late. Before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to know this story is reaching people who need to hear it. My name is Helen. I'm 69 years old. And this is the story of how I lost my only daughter on an ordinary Sunday afternoon, and how 27 days later, she discovered she'd lost far more than a mother. I need to take you back, way back, because none of this makes sense without understanding where Jennifer and I started, without understanding what I gave, what I sacrificed, what I believed we had. It was May 14th, 1989, when Jennifer Marie Anderson came into this world. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. She had this full head of dark hair and the tiniest fingers I'd ever seen. My husband Paul held her in the hospital room, tears streaming down his face, and whispered, "Helen, we made something perfect." And we had. God, we really had. For the first 8 years, life was simple. We lived in a modest 2-bedroom house in Queens, New York. Paul worked as an electrician, good, steady work, and I stayed home with Jennifer. I remember our kitchen had yellow wallpaper with tiny blue flowers. Jennifer would sit at the table in her booster seat, legs swinging, telling me elaborate stories about her stuffed animals while I made breakfast. Her favorite was Mr. Whiskers, a gray cat she carried everywhere. Those mornings smelled like coffee and cinnamon toast. They sounded like her laughter. On weekends, Paul would take Jennifer to the park, Astoria Park, with the big pool. He'd push her on the swings for an hour straight if she asked. She'd scream, "Higher, Daddy, higher," and he'd laugh and push until I'd have to yell from the bench, "Paul Anderson, don't you dare." But he'd do it anyway. They were best friends, those two. Then November 3rd, 2007 happened. Paul was driving home from a job in Manhattan. It was raining, that cold, harsh rain we get in November. A semi-truck ran a red light at the intersection of Queens Boulevard and 45th Street. He died instantly. They told me he didn't suffer, like that was supposed to help. Jennifer was 8 years old. She'd been waiting by the window for him to come home. When the police knocked on our door at 9:47 p.m., she was wearing her pink pajamas with the purple butterflies. I can still see her face when I told her, the way her eyes went empty, the way she just sat down on the floor and stopped talking. She didn't cry. Not for 3 days. She just shut down. At the funeral, she held my hand so tight my fingers went white. Paul's casket was covered in white lilies. The church was packed. He knew everyone in the neighborhood. The priest talked about Paul's spirit of service and his dedication to family. Jennifer stared straight ahead the entire time. When they lowered the casket, she finally whispered, "Mommy, who's going to push me on the swings now?" That broke me, completely shattered me. but I couldn't fall apart. Because I had promised Paul. Promised him at that funeral, standing over his grave with our daughter's small hand in mine, that she would never want for anything. That I would be both mother and father. That I would give her the life we'd planned together. So I did. I took every job I could find. Starting in January 2008, I was cleaning houses 5 days a week. Mrs. Patterson's Colonial on Mondays and Thursdays, $80 a day. The Rodrigo family's townhouse on Tuesdays, $75. The Chen family's apartment on Wednesdays, $70. Dr. Morrison's medical office on Fridays, $90. My back ached constantly. My hands cracked from chemicals, but it was 3 to 15 hours a week, $1,260 a month. Enough to keep our house. Barely. But it wasn't enough for everything Jennifer needed. So on weekends, I started a small baking business. Every Saturday, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and make pies, cakes, cookies. I'd sell them at the Queens Farmers Market from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. On a good day, I'd make $120. On a slow day, maybe $60. But it added up. It had to add up. Jennifer's education was non-negotiable. Paul and I had always planned for her to go to good schools. Private school tuition at Sacred Heart Academy was $8,400 a year. Every August, when that bill came, I'd feel sick. But I paid it, sometimes in installments, sometimes by selling things. Paul's tools, our second TV, jewelry my mother had left me. But I paid it. When Jennifer was in 7th grade, she wanted to join the volleyball team. The uniform cost $145. Equipment was another $89. I remember her sitting at our kitchen table, the registration form in front of her, asking, "Mom, can we afford this?" I looked at her hopeful face and said, "Baby, you can do anything you want." Then I picked up extra weekend shifts for 2 months. She made the team. She was good too, really good. I went to every single game. Even the away ones that meant taking 2 buses and missing work. I'd sit in those squeaky bleachers in my cleaning clothes, still smelling like pine sol, and cheer louder than anyone. The other mothers in their nice outfits would glance at me. I knew what they were thinking, but I didn't care. My daughter was spiking that ball like a champion, and I was going to be there for it. Do you understand what it's like to choose between groceries and your child's dreams? To stand in a checkout line and put back milk so you can afford volleyball shoes? I did that. Weekly. But Jennifer never knew. I made sure she never knew. High school brought new challenges. Jennifer was smart, really smart. She had dreams of going to college, studying business, making something of myself, she'd say. But college meant SAT prep courses. Those cost $1,200 for a 12-week program. I worked Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, cleaning 3 houses at double rates to pay for that course. She scored a 1340 on her SATs. Not perfect, but strong. Strong enough to get into Baruch College's business program. I cried when the acceptance letter came. We both did. She jumped around our tiny kitchen screaming, "I got in, I got in!" And I thought, this is it. This is what Paul and I worked for. This is her future opening up. But here's what nobody tells you about college. Tuition is just the beginning. There's books, $600 per semester. There's transportation, $127 monthly for a Metro card. There's suggested donations for department events. There's professional clothes for internships. It never stops. In her freshman year alone, I estimate I spent $14,300 between tuition, fees, and everything else. Where did that money come from? I'll tell you. I sold my wedding ring. The one Paul gave me on August 12, 1988. White gold with a small diamond. Not huge, but it was ours. The jeweler offered me $3,120. I took it, walked out of that shop, sat in my car, and sobbed for 20 minutes. But then I drove straight to the college and paid her spring semester fees. Jennifer never knew. She just thought Mom was managing somehow. Managing. That's a nice word for breaking your own heart every single day. During her sophomore year, Paul's old 1986 Chevy Nova was still sitting in our garage. He'd babied that car, kept it pristine. It was the last physical thing I had of him. But Jennifer needed a laptop for school. Her old one had died, and she had a major presentation. A new laptop was Plan 100, so I sold the Nova. Got $18,000 for it, way more than I expected because Paul had kept it in such good condition. I gave Jennifer the laptop as a surprise. She was so happy. "Mom, how did you afford this?" she asked. I smiled and said, "Don't worry about it, honey. Just focus on your studies." What I didn't say, I gave up the last piece of your father I had left. That car still smelled like his cologne. His old sunglasses were still in the glove compartment. But you needed this more than I needed memories. College graduation was May 18th, 2018. Jennifer walked across that stage in her cap and gown, and I screamed so loud people 5 rows ahead turned around. I was sitting in the back, couldn't afford the better seating tickets, but I didn't care. My daughter had a college degree, a business degree. She was the first person in our family to graduate from a 4-year college. After the ceremony, she found me in the crowd, threw her arms around me, and whispered, "Mom, I couldn't have done this without you. I'm going to make you so proud. I'm going to take care of you now." I believed her. With everything in me, I believed her. 2 months later, she got a job, junior account coordinator at a marketing firm in Midtown Manhattan. Starting salary, $48,000 a year. To me, that sounded like wealth. To her, it was just the beginning. She moved out of our house into a small studio in Astoria. I helped her move, carried boxes up 3 flights of stairs. My back screamed, but my heart was full. My baby was launching. Then in September 2018, she called me. "Mom, I met someone at work. His name's Richard Miller. He's a senior sales manager. I really like him." That weekend, she brought him over for dinner. I made spaghetti and meatballs, her childhood favorite. Richard arrived in a black BMW. That should have been my first clue. He wore designer jeans, a crisp white polo, and shoes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. When he shook my hand, his grip was firm, too firm, like he was making a point. "Mrs. Anderson," he said, flashing a smile of perfectly white teeth. "Jennifer talks about you constantly." "Good things, I hope," I replied, leading them inside. "Oh, of course." His eyes scanned our small living room, the worn couch, the old TV, the faded wallpaper. I saw his face change, just slightly, a tiny tightening around his mouth, judgment. During dinner, Jennifer was glowing. She laughed at everything Richard said, touched his arm constantly. She was smitten. He was pleasant, polite enough. He complimented the food, though he barely ate any, said he was watching his carbs. As they were leaving, Richard turned to me and said, "Thank you for dinner, Mrs. Anderson. It was very homey." Homey. The way he said it, it wasn't a compliment. After they left, I stood in my kitchen washing dishes, and I felt something I couldn't name. Unease, warning. My mother used to say, "Trust your gut, Helen. It knows things your brain hasn't figured out yet." My gut didn't like Richard Miller, but Jennifer was happy. For the first time since Paul died, I saw that light in her eyes again. So I pushed my feelings down, told myself I was being overprotective. Let her be happy, I thought. That's all that matters. They dated for 11 months. During that time, Jennifer slowly stopped calling as much. She used to call me every Sunday morning. We'd talk for an hour about her week, about work, about nothing and everything. But after Richard, the calls got shorter. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, then just texts. "Busy weekend, Mom. Call you later." But she seemed happy. That's what I kept telling myself. She seemed happy. On August 3rd, 2019, Jennifer called me, screaming with excitement. "Mom! Mom! Richard proposed. We're getting married." My heart did this complicated thing, joy and fear mixed together. "That's wonderful, honey," I said, forcing brightness into my voice. "When's the wedding?" "April next year. It's going to be at this beautiful venue in Long Island, the Royalton." "Mom, it's like a fairy tale." "That sounds expensive." "It is, but Richard's family is helping. They're paying for most of it. His dad owns a construction company. They have money, Mom. Real money. Something about the way she said real money stung. Like our money, our survival, our sacrifices wasn't real. But I swallowed it. I want to contribute too, I said. Let me help with something. Mom, you don't have to. I want to. Please, let me do this. We settled on the flowers. I'd pay for the ceremony flowers. The quote came back, $2,800. I nearly fainted. But I'd promised, so I took every extra job I could for 3 months. Cleaned houses on Sundays. Did ironing until midnight. Sold baked goods every weekend. I made that $2,800 and I gave it to the florist myself. The wedding was April 18th, 2020. It was beautiful. 200 guests, white roses everywhere, champagne fountains. Jennifer looked like a princess in her $4,500 dress. I wore a dress from Macy's clearance rack, $68. I felt out of place the entire day. Richard's family was there in force. His mother, Patricia, wore more jewelry than I'd ever seen on one person. His father, Douglas, kept talking about the market and investment opportunities. During the reception, I sat at a table near the back. Jennifer had seated me with some distant cousins I'd never met. Not at the parents' table. That was just Richard's parents. At one point, I overheard Patricia say to someone, "Well, at least Jennifer's mother kept herself presentable, though I do wish she'd done something with her hair." I touched my hair. I'd spent $35 at a salon that morning, more than I'd spent on myself in months, and felt small. But Jennifer was radiant. That's what mattered. When she danced her first dance with Richard, I cried. Because my little girl, my baby who used to make me tea parties with her stuffed animals, was now a wife. After the honeymoon, 10 days in Cancun that I definitely wasn't invited to contribute to, they came back and announced they were buying an apartment. A 2-bedroom in Astoria, $475,000. "We need help with the down payment," Jennifer said during a lunch at a diner. "We need $95,000 for 20% down." My stomach dropped. "Honey, I don't have that kind of money." "I know, Mom. Richard's parents are putting in $77,000. But we're short. Can you help at all?" I thought about what I had left. After the wedding flowers and my mother's medical bills from years ago, I had maybe $3,400 in savings. "I have a little," I said carefully. Jennifer's face lit up. Anything helps. What I didn't tell her, I still had one thing to sell, Paul's Chevy Nova. Yes, I'd told you I sold it for her laptop. That was partially true. I'd gotten $18,000 for it, used $1,100 for the laptop, and had been saving the rest, for emergencies, for my own future, for the day I might need it, but my daughter needed it now. So I gave her $18,000, every last cent. She cried when I handed her the check. "Mom, this is too much. I can't take this." "Yes, you can," I said firmly. "This is what parents do. We give you a foundation to build on." What I should have said, "This is the last of your father. This is my entire safety net. This is everything." The apartment purchase went through. Jennifer and Richard became homeowners. They invited me over to see it before they moved in. It was gorgeous. Hardwood floors, granite counters, huge windows with city views. Jennifer was bouncing with excitement, showing me every room. "And this," she said, opening a second bedroom. "This is your room, Mom. Whenever you want to stay over, this is your place too. Your place too." Those words felt like a promise, like I hadn't just given my last dollar, like I'd bought myself a spot in her new life. I should have known better. Promises are easy when you want something. It's keeping them that reveals character. Looking back now, I can see exactly when things started changing. But at the time, I made excuses for everything. I justified every cruel word, every dismissive gesture, every time I was made to feel like I didn't matter. Because that's what mothers do, right? We forgive, we understand, we give second chances, third chances, 100th chances. But there's a difference between being forgiving and being blind. And I was blind for a very long time. The first real sign came that November. It was Thanksgiving, and we'd always spent it together. Me, Jennifer, and since Paul died, it had just been the two of us. Our tradition was sacred. I'd make turkey, she'd make her famous sweet potato casserole, and we'd watch the Macy's parade in our pajamas while everything cooked. But that year, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Jennifer called me. It was a Tuesday afternoon, November 10th. I remember because I was cleaning the Morrison house and almost didn't answer. "Hey, Mom," she said. Her voice had this careful tone. "So, about Thanksgiving. I already bought the turkey," I said excitedly. 18 pounds. "It's in my freezer, and I found that recipe for the stuffing you loved last year with the cranberries and—" "Mom, stop," she cut me off. "We're not doing Thanksgiving at your place this year." Silence. The vacuum cleaner hummed in the other room. "What do you mean?" I asked, slowly. "Richard's family does this big thing at his parents' estate in Connecticut. It's really important to him that we're there. His whole extended family comes. It's like a networking thing, too. Professional connections. You understand. But it's always been our day, Jen." "I know, Mom, but I'm married now. Things are different. You can come to our place on Friday for leftovers if you want." Leftovers. She was offering me leftover turkey the day after Thanksgiving, like I was some neighbor who stopped by. "Jennifer, I already bought the—" "I'm sorry, Mom. I have to go. Meeting in 5 minutes. We'll talk later. Love you." Click. I stood there in Mrs. Morrison's kitchen, holding my phone, feeling something crack inside my chest. But I told myself, she's building a life with her husband. His family is her family now. That's normal. That's how marriage works. I spent Thanksgiving alone that year, ate a turkey sandwich, and watched reruns. The 18-pound turkey stayed in my freezer for 3 weeks before I finally threw it away. A month later, I was determined to make Christmas special. I'd been saving since August, putting away $20 here, $30 there, so I could buy Jennifer something really nice. She'd mentioned wanting this leather bag, a Michael Kors tote. I found it at Macy's for $298. It took me 4 months to save that money, but I did it. Christmas morning, I drove to their apartment. It was 9:47 a.m. I had the bag wrapped in beautiful gold paper with a red velvet bow. I also brought homemade cinnamon rolls, her favorite Christmas breakfast. Richard answered the door in silk pajamas. His hair was messy, and he looked annoyed. "Helen, not Mrs. Anderson anymore, just Helen. We weren't expecting you." "It's Christmas morning," I said, smiling, holding up the gift and the warm pastries. We're actually about to leave for my parents' place in an hour. It's a 2-hour drive, so—" Jennifer appeared behind him, wrapped in an expensive-looking robe. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "It's Christmas," I repeated, feeling stupid now. "I brought your gift and made—" "You should have called first." She took the gift without looking at me. "Thanks. We really have to get ready now. Can I just come in for a minute? Have coffee? I haven't seen you in 3 weeks." Richard stepped forward slightly, blocking the doorway more. "Helen, we're running on a tight schedule. Maybe next time call ahead. Set up a proper visit. It's just better that way." Jennifer didn't say anything, didn't contradict him, didn't invite me in, just stood there holding my gift, looking uncomfortable. "Okay," I whispered. "Merry Christmas." "You too, Mom." The door closed. I stood in that hallway for a full minute before I walked to the elevator, pressed the button, waited. The cinnamon rolls were still warm in my hands. When I got to my car, I sat there and called my neighbor Carol. "Carol, would you like some fresh cinnamon rolls?" She asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes. Later that day, Jennifer texted, "Thanks for the bag, Mom. It's nice." That's it. No phone call, no Merry Christmas, just 7 words. But I told myself, they're busy. Young couples have so many obligations. I need to be more understanding, more flexible. I turned 65 on March 8, 2021. Jennifer had never forgotten my birthday, not once in 65 years. Even in college, when she was broke and stressed, she'd at least call. Usually, we'd go to lunch. Somewhere simple, a diner, an Italian place we both liked. It was our tradition. That year, March 8th came and went. No call, no text, nothing. At 8 p.m., I finally broke down and called her. "Hey, Mom." She sounded distracted. I could hear Richard's voice in the background. "Hi, honey. I thought maybe you'd call today." "Why? What's today? My heart stopped. It's my birthday, Jen. Silence. Then, oh my God, Mom, I'm so sorry. It's been such a crazy week at work, and Richard and I have been dealing with this plumbing issue in the apartment, and it totally slipped my mind. Slipped her mind. 65 years of life, and it slipped her mind. It's okay, I said automatically, even though it wasn't. These things happen. We'll make it up to you, I promise. We'll do lunch next week or something. Next week never came. 2 weeks later, I sent a text. Still want to do that birthday lunch? She replied, so swamped this month, Mom. Rain check? I waited 3 more weeks before I stopped asking. My friend Carol, who lived in my building, noticed I was upset. We were doing laundry in the basement together when she said, Helen, honey, when's the last time you saw Jennifer? I had to think about it. Christmas, at her door, for about 90 seconds. That was 3 months ago. She's busy, Carol. She has a career, a husband. She has a mother, Carol interrupted, folding a towel with sharp, angry movements. A mother who gave up everything for her. Helen, I've known you for 12 years. I watched you work yourself to the bone for that girl, and now she can't even remember your birthday? You don't understand. Marriage changes things. Carol looked at me with sad, knowing eyes. Marriage shouldn't erase your memory, Helen. But I defended Jennifer, made excuses. Because that's what I did. That's what I'd always done. By May, I was desperate to see my daughter. We'd been texting sporadically, but I hadn't actually seen her face in 5 months. 5 months. So I decided to surprise her with lunch, made her favorite, chicken pot pie from scratch. It took me 3 hours. I showed up at their apartment at 1:15 p.m. on a Sunday. Perfect timing, I thought. Sunday lunch, relaxed. No work stress. Jennifer opened the door in workout clothes. Her face went from surprise to something else. Annoyance? Mom, hi, did we have plans? No, honey, I just thought I'd surprise you with lunch. I made your favorite. I held up the pot pie, still warm. Richard appeared behind her, also in athletic wear. Helen, we're about to head to the gym. We have a training session booked at 2. Oh, I can wait. Or I can put this in your fridge and you can heat it up later. Mom, you can't just show up unannounced, Jennifer said, her voice tight. We have lives, schedules. You need to call first. I tried calling yesterday. You didn't answer. Because I was busy. She took the pot pie from my hands. Thanks for this, but really, you have to stop doing this. Doing what? Bringing my daughter food? Richard stepped forward. Helen, what Jennifer's trying to say is that boundaries are important in relationships. You can't just drop by whenever you feel like it. It's intrusive. Intrusive. That word hit me like a slap. I'm her mother, I said quietly. And she's an adult, Richard countered. With her own family now. You need to respect that. Jennifer still didn't say anything. Didn't defend me. Didn't tell her husband he was being cruel. She just stood there holding my pot pie, looking at the floor. I'm sorry, I whispered. I didn't mean to intrude. I just missed you. I know, Mom, but please just call next time. The door closed. I cried in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I could drive home. That night, Carol knocked on my door with a bottle of wine. Saw you come home, saw your face, talked to me. I told her everything. She listened, getting angrier by the minute. Helen, wake up, she said finally. That man is turning your daughter against you, and she's letting him. No, I protested. She's learning to be a wife, to prioritize her marriage. That's healthy. Healthy is maintaining relationships with people who love you. What's happening to you isn't healthy. It's abuse. Don't be dramatic. Emotional abuse, Carol said firmly. And you're accepting it. Why? I didn't have an answer. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't want to say it out loud. Because if I push back, I might lose her completely. And losing her completely is the one thing I can't survive. In late July, I got sick. Really sick. It started as a cold, but within days, I couldn't breathe properly. Carol found me collapsed in my apartment hallway on August 3rd. She called 911, I spent 5 days in Mount Sinai Hospital with pneumonia. The doctors said if Carol hadn't found me, I might have died. The infection was in both lungs. I couldn't breathe without oxygen, couldn't walk to the bathroom without help. Carol called Jennifer from my phone. I heard her. "Jennifer, it's Carol, your mom's neighbor. Your mother is in the hospital. Mount Sinai, room 417. It's serious, honey. You should come." I waited. Hour after hour, I watched that door, waiting for my daughter to walk through. She never came. On day 2, I got a text. "Mom, so sorry you're sick. Work is insane right now. Can't get away. Sending positive thoughts." Positive thoughts. I was hooked up to machines, struggling to breathe, and she was sending positive thoughts. Carol visited every single day, brought me magazines, real food, sat with me through the lonely afternoons. On day 4, she said, "Helen, I'm going to say something, and you're going to get mad, but I'm saying it anyway. Your daughter is a selfish, ungrateful brat, and you deserve better." I wanted to defend Jennifer, but I couldn't find the words, because Carol was right, and somewhere deep inside, I knew it. When I was discharged on August 8th, Carol drove me home, helped me up the stairs, made sure I had groceries and medications. Jennifer texted that afternoon, "Glad you're feeling better, Mom." Better. I'd almost died, and she was glad I was feeling better. 2 months after my hospital stay, Jennifer finally agreed to have lunch with me. We met at a diner in Astoria on October 12th, a Tuesday. It was the first time I'd seen her in 10 months. She looked different, thinner, expensive highlights in her hair, designer bag, new iPhone. She'd clearly been spending money. "You look beautiful," I said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. "Thanks, Mom." She pulled her hand back, picked up the menu. "I only have 45 minutes. Conference call at 1:30. We ordered, made small talk. It felt stiff, formal, like we were strangers. Then Richard called. She answered, right there at lunch. "Hey, babe." "Yeah, I'm at lunch with my mom." "No, just that diner near the apartment." Okay. Yeah, I'll grab that on the way home. Love you too." She hung up and smiled apologetically. "Sorry, he needed me to pick something up." "It's fine. How's work going for you both?" "Good, really good. Richard actually just got promoted. Regional sales director, $140,000 salary plus bonuses." "That's wonderful." "Yeah. We're finally starting to feel financially stable, like we can breathe." Something about that phrase bothered me. Financially stable, after I'd given them $18,000, after I'd sacrificed everything. "And what about you?" I asked. "How's your job?" "It's fine, same position, but Richard says I might not need to work much longer. Once he makes VP, I could potentially go part-time or even be a stay-at-home wife. Isn't that amazing? If that's what you want, then yes." She leaned forward, and for a moment, I saw my little girl again. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you never do more with your life?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've been cleaning houses for 15 years? Didn't you ever want to do something else? Something more professional?" The words stung like acid. "I did what I needed to do to provide for you, Jennifer. After your father died, there weren't a lot of options. I had a child to raise, bills to pay." "I know, but other single moms go back to school, get better jobs. You just stayed in the same place." I felt my face flush. "Everything I did was so you could have opportunities I didn't have." "I know, and I'm grateful. She hesitated. "Richard's parents are really successful. His mom runs her own interior design firm. His dad owns a construction company. And sometimes when they ask what you do, and I have to say you clean houses, it's just a little embarrassing, Embarrassing. Her mother was an embarrassment. "I see," I said quietly. "Don't be upset, Mom. I'm just being honest. Richard says honesty is important in families." Richard says. Everything was Richard says now. The lunch ended shortly after. She had to get to her conference call. I paid the check, $34 for both of us. She didn't offer to split it. As I drove home, I kept hearing her words. "It's just a little embarrassing, I'd worked myself to the bone for 20 years, sacrificed everything, sold my most precious possessions, and I was an embarrassment. In December, Jennifer called with an invitation. Sort of. Mom, Richard and I are having a dinner party. It's a work thing. Some of his colleagues and their wives. I'm doing all the cooking, which is stressful, but I want to make a good impression. That sounds lovely, honey. Yeah, so I was wondering if maybe you could come over early that day and help me prep. Like, help with the cooking and setting up? Finally, an invitation. Of course, I'd love to. When is it? Saturday the 18th. Could you come around noon? The party's at 7, so we'd have plenty of time. I arrived at 11:45 a.m., 15 minutes early, with my good knives and a bag of ingredients I thought might be useful. Jennifer looked stressed when she opened the door. Thank God you're here. I'm so behind. For the next 6 hours, I cooked. Appetizers, a standing rib roast, 3 side dishes, homemade rolls, dessert. Jennifer helped, but mostly she arranged things and tasted. I did the actual work. My feet ached, my back screamed, but I was happy. I was with my daughter, helping her, being useful. At 6:30, I was plating the last of the appetizers when Richard came into the kitchen in a suit. Looks great, ladies, he said. Then to me, Helen, you should probably head out soon. Guests arrive at 7. I looked at Jennifer, confused. Oh, I thought, am I not staying? Jennifer's face went red. Mom, it's a work event. It's not really. I mean, you'd be bored. It's all industry talk, and I helped cook all of this, I said slowly. And we appreciate it, Richard said smoothly. Really. Thank you so much for your help, but this is a professional networking evening. You understand. I looked at the food I'd spent 6 hours preparing. Food for guests I wasn't invited to meet. Jennifer, I said, looking at my daughter. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Thanks for helping, Mom. You should take some of the leftovers home with you. Leftovers. Again. I was being paid in leftovers for 6 hours of labor. I left at 6:45, carrying a plastic container of food I'd cooked myself, while well-dressed strangers arrived to enjoy my work. I sat in my car until 7:15, watching through their lit windows as Jennifer and Richard entertained. Laughing, pouring wine, playing hostess and host with food I'd made. Carol saw me come home. How was the party? I wasn't invited, I said. I was the help. She didn't say I told you so. She just hugged me. By February, I'd learned my lesson about showing up unannounced. So I called, left messages, texted, asked if we could have lunch for Valentine's week. Just a mother-daughter date like we used to do. Jennifer finally responded 3 days later. Mom, Valentine's is really our couple time. Maybe the week after? The week after never happened. But on February 14th, I sent her flowers, beautiful tulips, her favorite. Cost me $87, including delivery. I added a card. To my daughter, my forever Valentine. Love, Mom. She texted that evening. Got the flowers. They're pretty. Thanks. That was it. 14 words, counting the thanks. I saw on Facebook, because now I was reduced to stalking my own daughter on social media, that Richard had taken her to some expensive rooftop restaurant. She posted pictures, her holding champagne, smiling at the camera. Caption, Best Valentine's with the love of my life. No mention of the tulips, no mention of me. In July, Carol sat me down forcibly, made me coffee, looked me dead in the eye. Helen, I'm saying this because I love you like a sister. You need to stop letting that girl walk all over you. She's my daughter. She's using you. She takes and never gives back. When's the last time she asked how you're doing? Really asked? I thought about it. Months. It had been months. She's busy. She's selfish, Carol said bluntly. And that husband of hers is poison. He's turned her into someone you don't even recognize. What am I supposed to do, Carol? Stop trying? She's all I have. No, honey, you're all you have. And until you realize that, she's going to keep treating you like garbage. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Because deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew Carol was right. But I wasn't ready to accept it. Not yet. I still believed that if I just loved her enough, if I just gave enough, she'd come back to me. The real Jennifer. My Jennifer. The girl who used to make me tea parties and promised to take care of me when she grew up. I still believed love could fix this. I was wrong. What I didn't know then was that the worst was still coming. That in 2 months, everything would explode in a way I could never have imagined. And that when it did, I'd have to make a choice. Keep being a doormat or finally stand up for myself. September 2022. That's when my world completely shattered. And it all started with what should have been a celebration. On September 3rd, Jennifer called me. It was a Saturday morning, 10:23 a.m. I remember because I was at the laundromat, folding my clothes, and I almost didn't hear my phone over the dryer noise. "Mom, hi!" She sounded excited. Actually excited. It had been so long since I'd heard that tone in her voice. "Jennifer, hi honey, how are you?" "Good, really good." So, Richard and I have our 3rd wedding anniversary coming up, September 23rd. 3 years. Had it really been 3 years already? That's wonderful, sweetheart. We want to do something special. Have a nice dinner at home. And Mom. She paused. We want you to come. My heart actually skipped. Really? Yes, really. Come over that Sunday. Make that roasted chicken you do, the one with the herbs. Richard mentioned he hasn't had a real home-cooked meal in forever, and I told him nobody cooks like you. Tears filled my eyes right there in the laundromat. An invitation, an actual invitation. Not to help, not to drop something off. To be included, to be wanted. I would love that, I said, my voice thick. I'll make everything you love. Perfect. Come around 2. We'll eat around 4, just like old times, Mom. When I hung up, the woman folding clothes next to me smiled. Good news? My daughter invited me to dinner, I said, wiping my eyes. It's been a while. Well, isn't that lovely? It was lovely. For exactly 20 days it was lovely. I planned that meal like it was a presidential dinner, made lists, tested recipes. I was going to remind Jennifer and Richard that I mattered, that a mother's love meant something, that I deserved a place at their table. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., couldn't sleep from excitement and nerves. By 6 a.m., I was in my kitchen. I'd bought a 7-pound organic chicken, $24, which was expensive for me, but worth it. Fresh herbs from the farmer's market, $11. Baby potatoes, organic carrots, the good butter, fresh lemons. I spent $78 on ingredients, nearly a full day's wages. But I didn't care. This was my chance. My chance to rebuild what we'd lost. I seasoned that chicken with rosemary, thyme, garlic, butter under the skin. Roasted it slow. The potatoes were perfect, crispy outside, fluffy inside. The carrots were glazed with honey and balsamic. I made homemade dinner rolls that I'd started the night before, yeast rolls that require 3 rises. And the dessert? Lemon meringue pie with peaks so perfect they looked like art. By 1:15 p.m., everything was packed carefully in containers. The chicken was still warm, wrapped in foil and towels. I wore my best dress, a navy blue one I'd bought on clearance for $45 specifically for this occasion. Put on lipstick, styled my hair. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, today is a new beginning. I got to their apartment at 1:58 p.m., early, but not too early. I could hear music playing inside. My heart was pounding as I knocked. Richard opened the door. He was wearing a dress shirt, white, crisp, expensive looking. His face was neutral. Helen, you're here. Hi, Richard. Happy anniversary to you both. I held up my bags. I brought everything. Let me just get set up in the kitchen and... Yeah, sure, kitchen's this way. He didn't help me carry anything, just walked away, leaving me to manage 3 heavy bags myself. Jennifer was in the living room on her phone. She looked up briefly. Hi, Mom. Hi, baby. Happy anniversary. I wanted to hug her, but she'd already looked back down at her screen. I went into the kitchen and started unpacking. Laid out all the dishes. The apartment smelled like expensive candles. Everything was spotless. They'd clearly cleaned, or hired someone to clean. The table was set with their nice dishes, 3 place settings. I smiled. 3. A spot for me. It took me about 15 minutes to arrange everything. The chicken as the centerpiece, surrounded by the sides, steam rising, colors vibrant. It looked beautiful, like something from a magazine. I walked into the living room, drying my hands on a towel. Everything's ready whenever you want to eat. Richard looked up from his laptop. Actually, Helen, we're not quite hungry yet. We had a late breakfast. Oh. I checked my phone. 2:17 p.m. Okay, well, the food's hot now, so maybe we should eat sooner rather than later. The chicken is best when it's— We'll eat when we're ready, Richard said, his tone firm. Jennifer finally put her phone down. Mom, sit down. Relax. So I sat. On their cream-colored couch that I probably helped pay for. And I waited. 2:30 came, then 3 then 3:30. The food was getting cold. I could picture it in the kitchen, the butter congealing, the rolls losing their softness. Should I maybe warm things up? I suggested at 3:45. God, Mom, stop being so anxious, Jennifer snapped. We said we'd eat around 4. Around 4, not at 4, around. I swallowed my frustration. 15 more minutes. At 4:07, Richard finally stood. All right, I guess we can eat. We moved to the dining room. I helped bring the dishes to the table, even though they were now lukewarm. I'd worked so hard to time everything perfectly, and it was ruined. We sat, Richard at the head of the table, Jennifer to his right, me to his left, feeling like a guest, an unwanted guest. Looks nice, Mrs. Anderson, Richard said flatly. He never called me Helen anymore. Had gone back to Mrs. Anderson, but in a way that felt mocking. Thank you. I hope you both enjoy it. I made all Jennifer's favorites. I served them, sliced the chicken, put generous portions on their plates. They started eating without waiting for me to serve myself. No prayer, no thank you, just forks in motion. I watched them take the first bites, waited for a reaction, a smile, an of appreciation. Something. Richard chewed slowly, made a face. This is really dry. My stomach dropped. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought And it's cold, Jennifer added, poking at a potato. Did you reheat this before bringing it over? It was hot when I arrived, I said quietly. But we waited over 2 hours to eat. So you're blaming us? Richard's eyebrow raised. No, I just meant— It's fine, Mom, Jennifer cut me off. It's just not what I expected, I guess. They continued eating in silence. I couldn't even taste my food. My throat was too tight. After a few minutes, Richard pushed his plate back. He'd eaten maybe 3 bites. You know what? I'm not that hungry after all. That brunch really filled me up. Jennifer did the same. Yeah, me too. I stared at the table. All that food, all that effort, barely touched. Well, maybe you can have leftovers tomorrow, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Or I can pack some up for you to— Helen. Richard's voice was cold. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you still here? The room tilted. What? You brought the food. We ate. Well, we tried to eat. But now, why are you still sitting here? Don't you have somewhere else to be? I looked at Jennifer. Her face was red, but she wasn't contradicting him, wasn't defending me. She was looking at her plate. Jennifer invited me, I said slowly, for anniversary dinner. I thought— You thought what? Richard leaned forward. That you were actually invited to celebrate with us? Helen, let me be clear. Jennifer asked you to bring food, to cook, like you always do. We didn't invite you to stay. Jennifer, my voice cracked. Is that true? My daughter finally looked up. And I saw it. I saw the truth in her eyes before she even spoke. Mom, I think Richard's right. We want to have our anniversary dinner alone. Just the 2 of us. That's what married couples do. But I said come over around 2. I didn't say stay for dinner. She was rewriting history, right in front of me, gaslighting me. You said just like old times, I whispered. I meant the food, Mom, just like the food from old times. Something inside me cracked. 12 years of grief, 3 years of disrespect, hours upon hours of labor, love, sacrifice, and this was what I got. Do you hear yourself? I stood up, my chair scraping loud against their hardwood floor. Do you hear how you're speaking to your own mother? Don't start this, Jennifer said, her voice rising. Don't make a scene. A scene? I made you a meal. I spent 8 hours cooking. I spent nearly $80 I don't have, and you're treating me like I'm some delivery person you can dismiss. Richard stood now, too. Lower your voice. This is our home. Your home? The words exploded out of me. Your home that I helped pay for? That $18,000 down payment? Where do you think that came from? We're grateful for that loan, Richard said slowly. It wasn't a loan. It was a gift, my entire savings. Well, maybe that was a bad financial decision on your part, he shot back. Nobody forced you to give money you couldn't afford. I turned to Jennifer. Tell him how I sold your father's car, how I gave you everything I had because you asked, because you're my daughter. Jennifer stood, and when she spoke, her voice was ice. Mom, I'm tired. Tired of what? Of this, of you, of your constant neediness, of your guilt trips, of you showing up with food nobody asked for, making yourself indispensable so we can't get rid of you. Get rid of me, like I was trash. I raised you alone, I said, my voice shaking. After your father died, I worked 3 jobs. I cleaned toilets so you could go to private school. I sold my wedding ring, so you could go to college. I gave up everything. And you never let me forget it, Jennifer shouted. Every single conversation is about what you sacrificed, what you gave up, how hard you had it. I'm tired of being your guilt project. You're my daughter, not a project. I'm your excuse, she yelled. Your excuse for having no life, no friends, no identity outside of being Jennifer's mother. It's pathetic. Pathetic. My own daughter called me pathetic. Richard stepped between us. Helen, I think it's time for you to leave. Jennifer, please, I begged, trying to see around him. Please, honey, you don't mean this. She turned away, walked to the window. Her shoulders were rigid. I mean every word. You don't belong in our family anymore. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. She turned back, and her eyes were dead, empty. Leave, now. Jennifer, get out! She screamed it so loud I jumped. Get out of our house. Get out of our lives. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. You're embarrassing. You're suffocating. And I'm done. I stood there, frozen. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be my daughter, my little girl who used to hold my hand, who promised to take care of me when she grew up. You heard her, Richard said, moving toward me. Leave, or I'll call security. I looked at the table, at all the food I'd made, at the lemon meringue pie with its perfect peaks still untouched, at the 3-place settings, at the life I'd tried so desperately to be part of. And I left. Walked out of that apartment in a daze. Didn't take my containers. Didn't take my jacket. Just walked. I made it to the elevator before the tears came. Made it to my car before the sobs started. I drove home, barely, pulled into my parking spot, and sat there for an hour. Just sat, crying, shaking, broken. Carol found me at 7:30 p.m. She'd been knocking on my door, got worried, came down to the parking lot. Saw me in my car, still in my nice dress, makeup ruined, hands trembling. She opened my door. Helen. Honey, what happened? I couldn't speak, just shook my head. She helped me inside, made me tea, sat with me while I ugly cried for another hour. Finally, I told her everything, every word, every awful moment. When I finished, Carol was quiet for a long time. Then she said, That's it. You're done. What? You're done with her, done accepting this abuse, done being a doormat. She's my daughter. She's a monster, Carol said firmly, and that husband of hers made her that way. But Helen, she's letting him. She's choosing him over you. She's choosing to be cruel, and you can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep her warm. "I don't know how to stop," I whispered. "Yes, you do. You're stronger than you think, and tomorrow you're going to prove it." I didn't believe her. That night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I felt like my life was over. What was the point of anything without my daughter? She was my whole world, my reason for existing. But then something else crept in, something I hadn't felt in years. Anger, real, burning, righteous anger. I'd given her everything, sacrificed everything. And this was how she repaid me? By throwing me out like garbage? By calling me pathetic? I got out of bed at 2:30 a.m., turned on the light, opened the drawer of my nightstand where I kept important documents, and I pulled out a folder I hadn't looked at in 2 years. Inside were papers from when Jennifer and Richard bought their apartment. I'd been at the closing, had signed documents, because when you give someone $18,000, you get added to certain paperwork. Certain legal paperwork. I'd forgotten about it. They'd definitely forgotten about it. But as I read through those pages, my hands stopped shaking. Because right there, on page 7, in black and white, was my name, Helen Marie Anderson, co-owner of the property. I owned 1/3 of their apartment. They'd humiliated me, disrespected me, thrown me out of their home. But it was my home too, legally, officially. And they had no idea. At 3 a.m., sitting at my kitchen table with those papers spread out in front of me, I made a decision that would change everything. If Jennifer wanted me out of her life, fine. But she was going to pay for the privilege, literally. I picked up my phone and started researching real estate attorneys, because tomorrow morning I was going to war, and for the first time in 3 years, I was going to win. What Jennifer and Richard didn't know, what they couldn't have possibly known, was that in exactly 27 days they would regret every word they'd said to me, every moment of disrespect, every ounce of cruelty. But that night, crying at my kitchen table, I didn't feel powerful. I felt broken. I felt like the worst was already behind me. I was wrong. The worst was still coming, but so was justice. Monday morning, September 24th, 2022. I woke up at 6:15 a.m. with a splitting headache and swollen eyes. For exactly 30 seconds, I forgot what had happened. Then it all came rushing back. Jennifer's face, her words, "You're pathetic. Get out." But instead of crying again, I felt something different. Clarity. I made coffee, strong black coffee, sat at my kitchen table with those documents spread out in front of me. The deed, the closing papers, the notarized agreement that showed my $18,000 contribution. And there, clear as day, my name as a co-owner. 1/3 interest in the property at 3217 Steinway Street, apartment 8D, Astoria, Queens. At 8:47 a.m., I made my first call. Law offices of Patricia Chen, a real estate attorney whose ad I'd found online. Her reviews said she was aggressive but fair. That sounded exactly right. The receptionist answered. Chen Law Offices. Hi, I need to speak with an attorney about property rights. I co-own property, and I want to force a sale. Hold, please. 2 minutes later, a woman's voice came on. Professional, sharp. This is Patricia Chen. Tell me what's going on. I told her everything. Not the emotional parts. I kept those out. Just the facts. The $18,000. The co-ownership. The fact that I wanted out. Wanted my investment back. And the other owners couldn't afford to buy me out. Do you have the documents? She asked. Right in front of me. Can you come in today? I have an opening at 2 p.m. I'll be there. Her office was in downtown Manhattan. Small but professional. Patricia Chen was in her mid-40s, wearing a sharp black suit, her hair pulled back tight. She didn't waste time. Show me the papers. I slid the folder across her desk. She read through everything with a yellow highlighter, making marks, taking notes. The silence stretched for 10 minutes. Finally, she looked up. Mrs. Anderson, this is airtight. You own 1/3 of this property. According to New York state law, any co-owner can petition the court for a partition sale. That means forcing the property to be sold and splitting the proceeds proportionally. My heart raced. How long does that take? Typically, 60 to 90 days from filing. But we can accelerate it if the other owners are uncooperative. We file a notice of intent first, gives them 30 days to either buy you out at fair market value or agree to sell. And if they can't afford to buy me out, then the court orders a sale. The property goes to auction or is sold through traditional channels. The proceeds are split according to ownership percentage. You'd get roughly 1/3 of the sale price, minus legal fees and costs. I did quick math. They'd bought the place for $475,000. Even if the market hadn't changed, 1/3 was about $158,000. Even after legal fees, I'd walk away with more than I put in. How much will this cost me? I charge a flat fee for partition actions, $3,500, plus filing fees, about $400. So roughly $4,000 total. If we win, which we will based on these documents, the court typically awards attorney fees to the prevailing party, meaning they'd have to reimburse you. $4,000. I had maybe under $800 in savings. But Carol had offered to loan me money, had been offering for months. I want to do this, I said. Patricia leaned back in her chair. Mrs. Anderson, I have to ask, this is your daughter's home? Yes. And you understand that this will destroy your relationship with her? I thought about Jennifer's face, her words, the way she'd looked at me like I was nothing. There's no relationship left to destroy, I said quietly. Patricia nodded. Then let's get started. I'll need you to sign a retainer agreement. We'll file the notice of intent by Wednesday. They'll be served by Friday. Then the clock starts ticking. I signed the papers. My hand trembled slightly, but I didn't stop. Walking out of that office at 3:40 p.m., I felt different, powerful. For the first time in 3 years, maybe in my entire life, I wasn't just reacting to what people did to me. I was taking action. I was fighting back. Tuesday, September 25th, I told Carol everything. She listened from her spot on my couch, eyes getting wider. When I finished, she grabbed my hands. Helen, this is it. This is you taking your life back. I'm terrified, I admitted. Good. That means it matters. But Helen, you're doing the right thing. That girl has walked all over you for years, and you've let her. Not anymore. What if she never speaks to me again? Honey, she's already not speaking to you. What's the difference? She was right. Jennifer hadn't called, hadn't texted. Radio silence. Like I didn't exist. Wednesday, Patricia emailed me. Notice of intent filed. Service scheduled for Friday, September 28th at 10 a.m. 52 hours until Jennifer and Richard would find out. I barely slept those 2 nights. Friday morning, I was cleaning Mrs. Patterson's house when my phone rang at 10:47 a.m. Unknown number. Hello? Mom, Jennifer's voice, high-pitched, panicked. What the hell is this? I put down my dust cloth, walked into the bathroom, closed the door. What's what, Jennifer? This legal notice. Some process server just showed up at our door with papers saying you're suing us, that you're trying to take our apartment. My voice was steady, calm. I'm not suing you. I'm exercising my legal rights as a co-owner of the property. Co-owner? What are you talking about? When I gave you $18,000 for the down payment, I was added to the deed. I own 1/3 of your apartment, Jennifer. Did you forget? Or did you just not care? Silence. Then, that was a gift. It was an investment, and I'm calling it in. You can't do this, her voice cracked. Where are we supposed to live? That's not my problem. Mom, please, don't call me Mom. You made it very clear on Sunday that I'm not part of your family. Well, fine. I'm just a business partner now, and I want my money back. We don't have $150,000 just sitting around. Then you'll have to take out a loan, or sell, I don't care which. You have 30 days to decide. After that, my attorney goes to court and forces a sale. Richard is going to lose his mind. I don't care about Richard, I said, my voice hard. I cared about you. I loved you. I gave you everything, and you threw me away like trash. So now, you're going to pay me back, with interest. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you called me pathetic. But here we are. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Mrs. Patterson knocked on the bathroom door. Helen, you okay in there? Yes, I called out. Just a minute. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was flushed. My eyes were bright. And for the first time in forever, I looked alive. After that phone call, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls from Jennifer. 9 from Richard. Text messages flooding in. Richard, Sept 28, 2:34 p.m. Helen, call me immediately. We need to discuss this. Jennifer, Sept 28, 3:12 p.m. Mom, please pick up. We can work this out. Richard, Sept 28, 4:47 p.m. This is extortion. My lawyer says we can fight this. Jennifer, Sept 28, 6:23 p.m. I'm sorry about Sunday. I was stressed. Please don't do this. I didn't respond to any of them. Patricia had advised me, don't engage. All communication goes through me now. On Saturday, Richard showed up at my apartment, pounded on the door at 9 a.m. Helen, open this door. We need to talk. I looked through the peephole. His face was red, twisted with anger. I called Patricia. Richard's at my door. Don't open it. Do you feel threatened? Yes. Call the police. Non-emergency line. Report harassment. I did. 2 officers showed up 20 minutes later. By then, Richard was gone, but they took a report. Told me if he came back to call 911. Tuesday, October 2nd, Jennifer showed up at Mrs. Patterson's house while I was working. She must have looked up my cleaning schedule. Mrs. Patterson answered the door. Can I help you? I'm looking for Helen Anderson. She works here? Mrs. Patterson, bless her, said, she's working. She doesn't take visitors during work hours. I'm her daughter. I don't care if you're the Queen of England. She's working. But I'd heard the commotion, came to the door. Jennifer looked terrible. Hair messy, no makeup, eyes red. Mom, please, 5 minutes. Mrs. Patterson looked at me. You want me to call someone, Helen? It's okay, Mrs. Patterson. I'll handle it. I stepped outside, closed the door. You have 3 minutes. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about what I said. I was stressed. Richard had been... She stopped, caught herself. It doesn't matter. I was wrong. Horribly wrong. Please drop the lawsuit. It's not a lawsuit. It's a partition action, and no. We can't afford to buy you out. We just put all our savings into renovations. You renovated without asking the co-owner for permission? That seems like poor planning. Stop being so cold. I learned from the best. I turned to go back inside. Wait! She grabbed my arm. I pulled away. We'll pay you back. Over time. Monthly payments. Whatever you want. I want $150,000 in 30 days. That's impossible. Then I guess you'll be moving. I went back inside. Left her standing on the porch. Through the window, I watched her sit down on the steps and cry. Part of me wanted to go comfort her. That mother instinct, so deeply ingrained. But I didn't. I went back to scrubbing toilets. October 7th, 10 days since the notice was served, 20 days remaining. Jennifer called at 11 p.m. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mom! Her voice was wrecked, sobbing, barely coherent. Mom, Richard left. I sat up in bed. What? He left me. He said... She gulped air, crying so hard she could barely speak. He said he didn't sign up for this drama, that your lawsuit proved I come from a toxic family, that he can't build a life with someone who has this kind of baggage. He packed a bag and left. He's staying at his parents'. I should have felt victorious, but I didn't. I felt empty. Jennifer, you were right about him, she sobbed. You were right all along. He turned me into someone I don't recognize. He made me hate you, and now I've lost you both. You didn't lose me. You threw me away. I know. I know I did, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Mom. Please. Please help me. I don't know what to do. For a moment, one brief, weak moment, I almost gave in. Almost said, okay, I'll drop the whole thing. But then I remembered. The hospital, the birthday she forgot, the dinner party where I was the help, The anniversary dinner where she called me pathetic. Get a lawyer, I said quietly. Figure out your finances. You have 20 days. Mom, good night, Jennifer. I hung up, and I cried. Because even when you're doing the right thing, it can break your heart. October 12th. Halfway through the 30-day window, Patricia called me. Helen, we've received a formal response from their attorney. They're claiming the $18,000 was a gift, not an investment, and that you have no ownership stake. My stomach dropped. But the deed? The deed is on our side. But they're going to fight this. It means going to court. Could take 60 days instead of 30. Are you prepared for that? Yes. Good, because it's going to get uglier. She was right. That afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice. Is this Helen Anderson? Yes. This is Patricia Miller, Richard's mother. I think we need to talk. Oh, this should be good. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Mrs. Miller. Listen to me carefully. You are ruining my son's marriage and threatening his financial stability over what? Hurt feelings? This is petty and vindictive, and I'm warning you. Our family has resources. We will fight this, and we will win. Your son and my daughter took my money and my dignity. I'm taking back one of those things. You're a spiteful old woman. And you raised a manipulative, controlling man who abused my daughter emotionally for 3 years. So I guess we both have regrets. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I was smiling. October 17th, 10 days left. Jennifer called. Her voice was different, defeated, flat. We're taking out a loan against the apartment. The bank approved us for $150,000 at 7.2% interest. We'll have it in 7 business days. Good. This is going to financially cripple us. You know that? Our mortgage payment is going up by $200 a month. You should have thought about that before you kicked me out. I hate you. Her voice cracked. I hate what you're doing to me. No, Jennifer, you hate what you did to yourself. I'm just the consequence. October 24th, 2022. 27 days after the notice was served. I met Jennifer and her attorney at Patricia Chen's office at 2 p.m. Jennifer looked like she'd aged 5 years. Hair pulled back, no makeup, exhausted. She wouldn't look at me. Her attorney, a young guy in an ill-fitting suit, did most of the talking. We're prepared to buy out Mrs. Anderson's interest in the property. We have a cashier's check for $150,000. Patricia reviewed all the documents. Quitclaim deed, release of interest. Settlement agreement stating I relinquished all ownership rights and future claims. Everything looks in order, Patricia said. Helen? I looked at Jennifer, really looked at her. This broken, hollow version of my little girl. Before I sign, I said, I want you to know something. Jennifer finally looked up. Her eyes were empty. I didn't do this for revenge. I did this because you needed to learn that actions have consequences. That you can't treat people, especially people who love you, like they're disposable. That love isn't a guarantee that you get to behave however you want without repercussions. Are you done? She said flatly. No. I also want you to know that I love you. I've always loved you. And when you're ready, if you're ever ready, to be the daughter I raised instead of the person Richard turned you into, I'll be here. She didn't respond, just looked away. I signed the papers, took the check, stood up. Jennifer, I said at the door. She didn't look at me. Your father would be so disappointed in who you became. That got a reaction. Her face crumpled. But I didn't stay to watch. I walked out. Patricia walked me to the elevator. You okay? No, I said honestly, but I will be. The next day, I deposited the check. $150,000 in my account. More money than I'd ever seen in my life. That weekend, I went apartment shopping. Found a beautiful 1-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Bought it outright. No mortgage, no landlord. Mine. For the first time in my entire adult life, I was financially secure, independent, free. But my daughter wasn't speaking to me. Victory felt a lot lonelier than I expected. 3 years have passed since that day in Patricia Chen's office. 3 years since I signed those papers and walked away with a check that changed my life. And you're probably wondering, what happened next? Did Jennifer ever come back? Did we reconcile? Did I ever regret what I did? Let me tell you. For the first 6 months after the settlement, I heard nothing from Jennifer. Complete silence. No calls, no texts, no birthday acknowledgement, mine or hers. It was like she'd erased me from her existence. I moved into my new apartment in November 2022. A beautiful 1-bedroom in Forest Hills with big windows and a small balcony. I furnished it slowly, carefully. Every piece I bought, I thought, this is mine. I chose this. Nobody can take it away. Carol helped me decorate. We painted the bedroom a soft blue, hung curtains, made it feel like home. You seem different, Carol observed one day in December as we assembled a bookshelf. How so? Lighter. Like you've been carrying a weight for years and finally put it down. She was right. I had put it down. The weight of being constantly dismissed, constantly disappointing, constantly not enough. I'd put all of it down. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. There were nights I'd lie in my new bed, in my beautiful apartment that I owned outright, and cry myself to sleep, missing my daughter. Missing the daughter I'd raised, not the woman she'd become. But still, the grief was real. In March 2023, 6 months after the settlement, Carol told me she'd seen Jennifer at a grocery store. She looked rough, Helen, really rough, thin, tired. She was alone. Did she say anything? She saw me and turned around, went down a different aisle. I nodded, not surprised, but still hurt. In June 2023, 8 months after the settlement, my phone rang at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Mom? Jennifer's voice, small, broken. It's me. My heart stopped. I sat down on my couch, gripping the phone. Hi, Jennifer. Silence. Heavy breathing. Then, Richard filed for divorce. The papers came yesterday. I'm sorry. Are you? Her voice had an edge. Isn't this what you wanted? I wanted you to be happy. I wanted you to be treated with respect. If Richard couldn't do that, then yes, I'm glad he's gone. More silence. Then quietly, Can I see you? Every instinct in me screamed yes. Come over right now. Let me hold you. Let me fix this. But I'd learned something in the past year. I'd learned boundaries. Why do you want to see me, Jennifer? I don't know. I'm alone. I'm completely alone. Richard's gone. You're gone. I have nobody. You pushed me away. I know. You called me pathetic. You said I didn't belong in your family. I know, Mom. I know, and Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. I've been sorry for months, but I didn't know how to call you. I didn't know what to say. You just said it. Can I please see you? Please? I closed my eyes. Took a deep breath. Yes, but on my terms. We meet at a coffee shop. Neutral ground, 1 hour. And if you're not ready to actually talk about what happened, really talk, not just apologize because you need something, then we don't do this. Okay, yes, anything. We met at a Starbucks in Queens 2 days later. I got there first, ordered a latte, sat in the back corner, waited. Jennifer arrived 10 minutes late. She looked exactly like Carol had described, thin, exhausted, hollowed out. She saw me and hesitated, then walked over slowly. Hi, Mom. Hi, Jennifer. Sit down. She sat, ordered nothing, just sat there with her hands in her lap, looking at the table. Talk, I said gently. Tell me what happened. And she did. She told me everything. How Richard had become increasingly controlling after we stopped speaking. How he'd isolated her from her few friends. How he'd blamed her for the financial strain of the loan. How he'd called her weak, stupid, a disappointment. How he'd started staying out late, and she suspected he was cheating. How when she confronted him, he'd told her he wanted a divorce and moved out the next day. He took everything that wasn't nailed down, she said, tears streaming down her face. Half our furniture, the TV. He even took the coffee maker you bought us for our wedding. I didn't say, "I told you so." I just listened. "I know this is my fault," she continued. "I know I chose him over you. I know I let him poison me against you. I was so desperate to be part of his world, his rich, successful family, that I forgot who I was, forgot where I came from." She finally looked up at me. "Forgot what you sacrificed for me." "You didn't forget," I said quietly. "You just didn't care." She flinched. "You're right. I didn't care. I took everything you gave me and acted like I was entitled to it, like you owed me a perfect life because you were my mother." "Why are you telling me this now, Jennifer?" "Because I've spent 8 months alone, really alone, nobody calling, nobody checking on me. And I realized that's what I did to you. I made you feel alone and unwanted in the last years of your life. And I'm so, so sorry." I sipped my latte. Let her words sit between us. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "I don't even know if I deserve the chance. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm ashamed." "Good," I said. "You should be ashamed." She nodded, tears falling faster. "But Jennifer, shame isn't enough. What are you going to do differently?" "I'm in therapy. I started 2 months ago, working through everything. The counselor says I have codependency issues, that I tie my worth to whether men approve of me, that it started when Dad died, and I never processed the abandonment. I wasn't expecting that level of insight." "That's good. That's a start. I want to rebuild our relationship, if you'll let me. Slowly. However you need it to be." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. Saw the little girl with braids. Saw the teenager who aced her SATs. Saw the woman who'd broken my heart. Saw all of it at once. "Here's what I need," I said. "I need you to understand that I'm not your safety net anymore. I'm not the person who gives endlessly and gets nothing back. If we rebuild this, it's going to be a real relationship, equal, respectful. You don't get to take me for granted. I understand. I need you to mean it when you apologize, not just say words, but change behavior. I will, I promise. And Jennifer, if you ever speak to me the way you did at that anniversary dinner again, I'm done. Permanently. No second chances. Do you understand?" "Yes." She was sobbing now. "I understand." I reached across the table, took her hand. "Okay. Then let's try. The past 2.5 years have been a journey. Jennifer and I meet for lunch once a month, sometimes twice. We talk on the phone every couple of weeks. It's not what we had before, that's gone forever. But it's something new, something healthier. She's changed. Really changed. She got a new job at a different company, left the one where Richard's connections dominated. She continued therapy. She dated briefly, but ended it when she recognized red flags. "I'm not ready," she told me. "I need to be okay with myself first." I was proud of her for that. Last Christmas, she invited me to her apartment. The same apartment, though she's talked about selling it soon. Too many bad memories. She cooked dinner. Nothing fancy, but she made an effort. We exchanged small gifts. It was quiet, a little awkward, but nice. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she said as I was leaving. "I didn't give up on you," I corrected. "I gave up on being mistreated. There's a difference." She hugged me at the door, a real hug, and whispered, "You were right to do what you did. It was the only thing that could have woken me up." So what did I learn from all of this? What do I want you to take away from my story? Lesson 1. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse. For years I confused love with doormat behavior. I thought being a good mother meant accepting whatever treatment my daughter gave me. I was wrong. Real love includes boundaries. Lesson 2. People will treat you exactly how you allow them to treat you. Every time I made excuses for Jennifer's behavior, I taught her that it was acceptable. I enabled my own mistreatment. Lesson 3. Sacrifice doesn't equal ownership. Just because I sacrificed for Jennifer didn't mean she owed me her life, but it also didn't mean she got to treat me like trash. There's a balance. Lesson 4. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. I couldn't have changed Jennifer's mind about Richard. She had to learn that lesson herself, the hard way. Lesson 5. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Forcing the apartment sale was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was also the thing that finally made Jennifer see what she'd become. Lesson 6. Financial independence is freedom. Having my own place, paid off, with no one able to take it from me, changed everything. I'm not rich, but I'm secure. That security gave me power. Lesson 7. It's never too late to stand up for yourself. I was 66 years old when I finally fought back. Some people thought I was too old, that I should just accept being treated poorly. They were wrong. Lesson 8. Grief and relief can coexist. I grieved the loss of the relationship I thought I had with Jennifer, but I also felt relief at not being constantly hurt. Both feelings were valid. Lesson 9. True change takes time. Jennifer and I have been rebuilding for 2.5 years. It's slow. Some days it feels like we take 1 step forward and 2 steps back, but we keep trying. Lesson 10. You teach people how to love you by how you love yourself. When I finally valued myself enough to demand respect, Jennifer learned that I was worth respecting. My message to you: if you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, being taken for granted by your children, your spouse, your family, anyone, please hear me. You are not selfish for wanting to be treated with respect. You are not cruel for setting boundaries. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, even if that someone is your own child. I wasted years accepting unacceptable behavior because I was afraid of losing my daughter. But the truth is, I'd already lost her. The daughter I raised was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I couldn't get her back by being a doormat. I could only get her back by showing her what real strength looked like. Was it worth it? The pain, the legal battle, the months of silence? Yes, 1,000 times yes. Because now, when Jennifer looks at me, she doesn't see a weak woman she can push around. She sees someone who stood up for herself, someone with dignity, someone worthy of respect, and slowly, so slowly, she's becoming someone I can respect too. We're not perfect. We're not where we used to be, but we're honest. And that's better than any fake closeness built on my silent suffering. To Jennifer, if you're watching this, I love you. I'm proud of the work you're doing. And I'm glad we found our way back to each other, on new terms, better terms. To everyone else, don't wait as long as I did. Don't sacrifice your dignity for someone else's comfort. Stand up, speak up. You deserve better. If this story resonated with you, please share it. Comment below with your own experiences. Subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, it's never too late to choose yourself. Thank you for listening to my story.